This video is going to be all about why I love my 1993 Subaru Impreza. And first thing I'm going to do in this video is get onto this on-ramp and just do what I usually do when I get on the interstate. Second gear. So, not a very fast car, but hopefully what you can get a little bit from that sound clip, if you will, is the sound that this car makes. And it's not impressive, it's not loud. You could probably tell there's a bad exhaust leak right now that's also badly welded back together. But what it has that's magic to me is a mechanical noise from the engine bay that is just very pleasant and very even, and it runs well. So this car just hit 198,836 miles. That's what I'm at as I'm recording this, and the engine just runs beautifully. I've had the valve covers off and the rocker assembly off. Everything looks brand new. It's not yellowed. It's shiny and silver. I've almost always used Pennzoil in this car, which I know has some cleaning agents, so maybe that's helped. But either way, the engine is in beautiful condition as far as I can tell. No signs that it's low on compression, etc. So that's just the first thing that I love about this car. Is it's not powerful, it's not fast, but it's mechanically pleasing. And that brings me to my next point, which is that this is not a typical top 10 reasons I love my car video or whatever. And a lot of people make those and they're fun to watch most of the time. Sometimes I think they're really, really gimmicky. Like there'll be a top 5 reasons I hate my car. And they're like, oh, the emergency brake boot is like an awkward shape or something. And I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, but you spent 30 seconds of the video on that. I'm hoping this is going to be a bit more of a connected video. It's off the cuff. I don't have a planned list of things to say, and I don't know, it's just actually what I feel. I feel I'm a bit more connected to this car than most people are when they make those videos, because I've had this car for almost 8 years, I believe. I bought it in November of 2009, and it's now almost September of 2017, so almost 8 years I've had this car. And in that time, I've gotten to know it extremely well. I know all the little oddities. I know all the nice things about it. I know how long it takes for my knee to get comfortable because the driver's seat isn't positioned perfectly, which is why I'm hoping to put WRX seats in it. And I'll be making videos on that. A bit dry in here today, too. So, what else do I love about this car? Well, first of all, the shifter is nice. That's one of the other things that's great about getting on the interstate. And yeah, the bushings are a little bit worn. I've got about, this much wobble if I want it right now, even though I'm in 5th gear. And the bushings are definitely worn. The linkage is old, the transmission is old, the 2nd gear synchro isn't perfect, but it's still got this nice, notchy, solid feel, despite having a long throw with a tall stick. And it's just very positive, and if you screw up in a shift, you know it immediately. It's just one of those things about this car that's like a very pure part of the driving experience, I guess I would say. And it also makes rev matching and downshifting a lot of fun, which is another great thing about this car. The pedals are positioned well for the heel toe. And no, I know I don't have a professional camera set up right now that can show you all the angles. This is really just something I felt like filming. Again, just on spur of the moment, thought of it. I'm on my way home from school right now to finish cleaning up my garage and maybe weld on this exhaust a little bit more, help my mom with some things. But so yeah, I mean, I'm going let's see, I'm going 75 right now. I mean 65, sorry, misread my speedo. So 70 now, I mean 60, misread again. And this, I'll just do a quick downshift to 4th, and it flips nicely. And if I actually slow it up a little bit here, it sounds good on decel too, I won't lie. So now I'm at, let's see here, just over 60. I'll do a quick downshift to 3rd. 55K, 55, 5750, back and forth. And the shifter engagement is just really solid, and I enjoy that. And the clutch, it's a cable clutch. And here's one thing I want to say. Most of my viewers, pretty much any of my viewers who own a car, probably have a nicer car than my daily driver. You know, if you look at any one of the big YouTubers, I'll just go with like Street Speed 717, like one of the wheels on his Corvette is worth more than my car, probably by a couple or 3 times. Even one of his tires. If he replaces a tire, it costs more than my car did when I bought it in 2009. So just to put that in perspective, and it's much rustier now, it has much more miles now, etc., etc. So, but this clutch, this is a cable clutch. This is a relic. Cars don't really have cable clutches anymore. Subaru went to a hydraulic clutch on almost any manual car, I think by the late 90s, maybe at most early 2000s. It also has a cable throttle, but back to the clutch. Having that cable clutch means that the throw is quite long. I'd say twice as long as most people would be used to with a hydraulic clutch. So that makes for a much more connected feel to the clutch. It's kind of like when people talk about manual power steering versus hydraulic power steering versus electric power steering. In this case, this is at least like the manual or the hydraulic power steering, where I have a direct connection to the actual clutch pedal. One second. There's a construction site. So that direct connection means that I can really feel when it's starting to pick up. I can feel when the clutch plates are starting to slide against the other components, the flywheel and the pressure plate. And I can feel when it's slipping. I can feel when it's fully engaged. I can feel when it's almost fully engaged. And that's really cool. It's good for learning about the car and learning about driving a manual transmission. And it also gives you a lot of finite control. Sure, you don't want a clutch to slip, but there are occasional times that you may need that to happen, and especially driving in a winter climate. You know, I've had to do some weird things with this car. It can also make it a lot more forgiving. I've taught probably 3 or so people how to drive a manual transmission car in this, and I don't think any of them have stalled it on their first time getting going at all. And that was all people who had never driven a stick before, as far as I know. And maybe I'm a good teacher, but that's kind of my point, is it's a bit forgiving. So onto the cable throttle, as I mentioned, it also has a cable throttle. Obviously, almost every throttle today is drive-by-wire, which, despite the name saying wire, they don't mean cable, they mean drive-by-wire, meaning electrical wire. So it's usually a sensor on your throttle pedal, which tells the throttle in the engine bay how much to open with a little electric motor solenoid, whatever you want to call it. And that's very different from having a cable throttle for multiple reasons. So, for example, if I slam it, throttle's all the way open. Now, granted, my car's not very quick, so it's not very dramatic. But if I drop it, I get a quick decel, and the car kind of will lurch a little bit. This is much more apparent at lower speeds and higher RPMs. But if I'm in second gear at 5,000 RPM and I let that throttle slam shut, I'm sure going to feel the car kind of jerk forward. Whereas with a more modern car, it's going to give some time for that throttle to close, and you won't get that jerkiness. Here, real quick, I had to take a break in town, but watch this second gear. Throttle all the way open. Throttle all the way closed. Open. Closed. You can see how much the car jerks and shakes. A modern car won't do that. It's a different kind of experience, and you really feel like you're in control. It also sometimes makes you feel like you're in a race car. Quick rev match. And then a little bit low on the RPM there, but like you kind of get this. You can hear the gears. So much fun. So why do I like that? Why do I like having a less smooth throttle? Again, I feel so connected to the mechanical workings of this vehicle. I feel every little change that I make immediately. There's no delay, there's no computer between me and opening the air passageway into the engine. Anybody who owns older cars knows what I'm talking about, and you'll notice that, yes, it's largely financial, but the cars that I'm really into, my 1985 Toyota MR2 is one of them. It's always been a dream car of mine, and also the 1997 Mitsubishi Eclipse GSX. Well, not particularly old, it's actually newer than this car. Both of those have some similarities to this. The GSX does have a cable throttle, and the MR2 has a cable throttle and a cable clutch. They're both manual transmission, of course, and that's just what I like. I like that feel and that connection. Sure, if I could afford a modern daily driver, I probably would. It'd probably be a Subaru or something, maybe even a BRZ or a newer WRX, who knows. But this car works for me. And I guess that'll be my next point is I love the fact that this car works. And yes, I've had to maintain it. I've had to keep it alive. I've done all the work on this car pretty much with very few exceptions since I bought it in 2009, which probably means I've put 100 plus, maybe even hundreds of hours of labor into this car. Alright, I had to take a quick break there because I was driving through town and didn't want to be dangerous or risk a ticket for having, my phone up in the windshield. So, I think where I was at is just the fact that this car just works. So, again, 198,850 miles. I have had issues with it, of course. I've had to replace all the things that people have to replace on cars that are this old with this many miles. Suspension components, I've done the rear struts. I think my front right strut has definitely about had. There's some kind of knocking noise in the rear left that's a bushing, I believe. Hoping to check that out today a little bit more. I've had to do a brake line. I've had to do all the brakes twice, I think. I probably only needed to do some of it once, but I like to keep up with the maintenance. Various belts, timing belt, which I had to do twice because the first time I didn't replace the pulleys and one of the pulleys went bad. That's a fun story. Maybe I'll tell that in full sometime. But all of it's normal stuff. And the other great thing about it is, yes, I love that this car works, but it's so easy to work on. The hardest jobs on this car do, of course, involve the H layout of the engine. But like spark plugs, I can still do them on this car in maybe 20 minutes. There's so little clutter in the engine bay. If you go watch some of my older videos, maybe like the alternate replacement, there's just so little clutter in this engine bay that you can work on pretty much anything without having to remove much at all, which is even a little bit different than modern Subarus. And headlight replacement, easy. Battery, super easy. Spark plugs, easy. Spark plug wires, coil pack. Starter and alternator, so easy, especially compared to a transverse car. If you own any kind of like Honda, Nissan, anything, God, I hate working on the starters and alternators in cars like that Stalternator. It's just such of a pain, and I usually feel like it can be easier. Like when I replaced the alternator on my subscriber Caleb's Eclipse, man, just like the place that it's put and the way the bolts are and what they put in front of it, it's just so annoying. On a Subaru, I can change an alternator in 10 to 15 minutes. It's just great, but especially mine. And also because I've been working on it so much, everything is properly never seized and lubricated and comes apart easily the next time, which is great. So yeah, this car just works. It drives. It is not powerful, but it works and it's easy to work on. And in addition to that, while it's varied over the years, partially my fault, I think, and I've had some issues with the gas lines and such as well, the car being so old, but since my alternator replacement, I've been getting 32 miles to the gallon, or maybe even a little bit more. 32 mpg in a 1993, which rhymes, is really not bad, and it's definitely not bad for a Subaru. You might wonder how the heck I'm getting that good mileage. Well, it's a 1.8 liter, it's an EJ18, front-wheel drive, meaning no all-wheel drive system, Subaru Impreza. And while I won't say that that's something I like about this car because I genuinely miss the all-wheel drive, and I also love the EJ22. I think it's definitely one of my favorite engines. Alright, passed another cop and had a little mini freak out there, but what I was saying is that I do miss the EJ22. I miss the all-wheel drive. Obviously, I would love to have a turbo Subaru instead of an NA Subaru. But having that front-wheel drive does give me good gas mileage. The car still works well in the winter because you can pull yourself up hills, especially with good snow tires. Good snow tires are absolutely necessary. And it also gives me a talking point about this car because, like, when I hosted my first car meet, for example, there's nothing impressive to say about this Impreza really, except that it's old, cheap, I work on it, whatever. But if I tell people it's a front-wheel drive 1.8 liter, a lot of people have never heard of either of those things in a Subaru, but especially front-wheel drive. And a lot of people don't know you could get a front-wheel drive Impreza or Legacy until 1996, like the 1996 model year is the first year that all Subarus were all-wheel drive. The only exception today, of course, being the BRZ, which is rear-wheel drive. So that's kind of fun. That I can surprise people a little bit with my car. And the EG18, I think it's 110 horsepower, 110 torque. What a beast. But really, it loves to rev, lightweight internals. It's a fun little engine, and it does, sound good for a four-cylinder. That's one thing that's fun about Subarus in general, is they just have a different sound. Maybe it's all down to the exhaust layout, but especially mechanically, if you stick your head in the engine bay, you can hear that a Subaru sounds different than other four-cylinders, inline fours like Hondas. It's just a different noise, and this especially has the roller rocker cams that the older Subarus did. The other fun thing about having that front-wheel drive is this car is so lightweight, 2,350 pounds total, so just over a ton. I mean, it's really light, and the only things that are really as light as this are my 1985 Toyota MR2 and Mazda Miatas, which are lighter, but they're cheating. Two-seater. This can comfortably sit 5 adults. When I say comfortably, I mean for short periods of time, of course, in the back. But I've fit, 600 plus pounds of person in this car before, and believe me, you feel it because these brakes are small and this engine is small, but it's doable, and I fit everything I need to move to and from school in this car, so it's great. The utility is there despite it being a small sedan from 1993. So I've been getting a bit off track here, but I'll use the point about being lightweight to kind of bring this all home. So the other nice thing about it being so lightweight is that it actually does have pretty phenomenal handling for a car of its age and wear and power, etc., etc. Like, you can feel the road in this car. It's got old school hydraulic power steering, and it's got a very, I wouldn't call it light steering feel, but easy. And it just works well, and you can feel the road, and all the input is very direct. The car responds quickly. There's only body roll because the suspension is so old, really, but not because you're moving around all this weight. And I implore you, if you're looking to get a project car or a fun daily driver or a driver's car or track car, weight is one of the most important things you can look at. No, I'm no expert, but ask any race team what the most important aspect of their car is, and pretty much weight is what it comes down to. If you have less weight, you need less power, you need less brakes, you need less suspension, effort, I guess is what I might call it. So having a lightweight car is so much fun and teaches you a lot about driving dynamics. So I really like that about this car, and so to bring that all home, a lot of what I'm getting at, this car being older, this car being so analog, having such direct inputs, it just kind of makes you feel like you're in a really, and I know y'all are going to hate me for saying this, but like a really, really crappy race car sometimes, because with all those direct inputs, it makes you feel like you have to do so much work to get what you want out of it. And then if you don't do everything right, you get punished a little bit. You know what I mean? If I let that throttle slam close, if I slam it open, I get a jolt. And if I let off a bit too fast, I kind of get the shaking. Here, I got a little more of that race car feel for you that you'll hopefully be able to hear. Let's see if I, on the throttle, off, kind of jerky. Let's see a jerk in the, hear the popping. And you can hear the transmission in this car. There's no sound deadening, really. I mean, this was a pretty economy car, even in 1993, and they didn't put tons and tons of sound deadening in the floor or in the firewall, so you can hear the engine noise in the cabin. If I put an air filter on this, a cold air intake, you would definitely be able to hear it from here, even though it's on the other side of the engine bay, the intake. You can hear the gears of the transmission, especially if you're in second gear, like I showed a little bit earlier in this video, hopefully. You can hear the gears working when you're decelerating. And it's so much fun. And being able to feel that clutch, being able to control it so closely, it really just kind of makes you feel like you're in control of the car and you're one with it, and it's just like a zippy little track car or something because it's so light. And no, it's not. It's not a race car. It's not a track car. It's not fast. It's not powerful. But it makes you feel like you're having fun despite all that. And so I hope if you made it this far in the video that's your takeaway, is that an old, beat up, lightweight, underpowered car. Not underpowered, because this car can get out of its own way. It can go up hills fully loaded with people, but low power car can be a lot of fun, and it doesn't have to be a lot of money. Here goes a nice little super wagon, just like this one. But you know, and this car is kind of unique in this day and age. You do not see a lot of 1993 1.8 liter front wheel drive Imprezas. Like I said, I call it the Honda Civic of Subarus. But I'd be willing to bet if you put this against a Civic of the same vintage, that it'd be a good race, especially down a windy road. You know what I'm saying? So that's about all I have to say. I mean, like I said, the car's reliable and easy to work on. Everything on the inside still works. All my electric windows still work. The trunk still works. The fuel door doesn't have a popper. Actually, no, this one does have a popper. Sorry, I was thinking of my 96, despite having this car for 8 years. The fuel door popper still works. The trunk popper still works. The hood popper still works. You know, all my dash lights and all my gauge lights work, and somebody just tried to literally go all the way into my lane, but the only interior light that's really not working is the dial for the fan knob. And by the way, that's another great thing about this car. Real quick, old analog controls for the heat. It's got one for fan, one for hot and cold, one for what the fans are doing. That's it. I love that. Sorry, I do. It's also got the dual cup holders from the older style Impreza dash, and I love those too, even though they get in the way of your radio and your heater controls. Yeah, so I'm going to stop ranting now. I know this is way longer than I planned. If anybody watched all the way to the end, just say something in the comments like, I know all the reasons you love your old car, or your crappy car, or your Honda Civic Subaru. Whatever you want to say, but just let me know something like that. I know all the reasons that you love your car. And like I said, this was not a typical top 5, top 10. Real quick, here's the things that I like or dislike about this car, and I'm sure if I made a dislike list, it'd be really long. Maybe I'll do one of those actual top 10 likes and dislikes video for this car or some of my other cars later, because I know those are fun and a lot of people search for them. But this was supposed to be a much more intimate, connected, just off the top of my head sort of look at why I actually enjoy this car, despite the many flaws you could point out. So I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, again, please let me know in the comments. I do have some good ideas for top 5, top 10 videos in the future. If you all like those kind of things, let me know in the comments as well. That'll push me to get them out there. Like I said, I'm just on my way home from school right now, and I figured that this would be an easy way for me to get out a video that I've been wanting to make anyways for you folks. So again, I hope you enjoyed it. I know the videos are few and far between right now because I'm in school, and believe me, I'll be addressing that more in the future. But please let me know what you think in the comments. Toss this video a like. If you're new here and you made it all the way to this video, I mean, that's a good sign that you like my channel, and you should probably subscribe. Help me out, folks. The support has been absolutely amazing. My sub count is way higher than I expected, and I appreciate you all so much. I will catch you soon on 802 Garage. Here we go. Windows down, pulling second.